How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? Oh, I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final I don't wanna get married. I don't wanna be just like you. Nobody bothered to ask me. They said I ought to be just like you. Well, I could get a marriage license for a husband and me, so I could use the health insurance for my HART. Since I can file taxi with the same gender spouse, I shouldn't feel so bad getting kicked out of my house. Don't send me a rainbow. Your uncle's never done shit for me. Don't want a seat at your table. A fucking invitation to your party. Wanna celebrate a game on your cable TV? Well, trans lesbians are calling Southern bodies stuff with AIDS. You paid the world for CEOs to suck on some dick. Well, all the kids on the street are getting belted with whips. I don't wanna be equal, 'cause I know I'm fucking better than you. Your moderation is lethal. Get out my way, let me do what I need to. There's no protection that this nation's thinking offer to me. Just solid Francis do this is what gay bourgeoisie. So fuck off with your rainbow South American flag. The only colors that I need are the pink and the black.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Cult. This is a show that streams Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time or thereabouts on YouTube, on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, on Kick, apparently, and on Rumble, where we do deep dives into the far, far, far left most days. And I got to tell you guys, it is still Queer Marxism Month, which is why you heard the Queer Marxism song at the beginning, which is not gay as in happy, but queer as in fuck you, because queer and trans and queer and gay are not the same thing at all. in any way. They even wrote an entire song telling you that when they say queer, they don't mean gay or trans. They don't want to be married. They don't want to be in the military. They don't want to assimilate. They hate progressive groups like the human rights. They wrote a whole song about it, guys. They wrote a whole song about it. I had dubbed Pride Month Queer Marxism Month because we were going to do queer Marxism all month long. And then the protests and the rioting disrupted my plans. But I still get my queer Marxism moments in. And I got to tell you, this one was a surprise. I was not looking for the thing that we're going to be streaming today. It swooped into my inbox in the form of a DM from my community member, Brooks. Shout out Brooks. We love Brooks. And Brooks, what I love about Brooks is he knew enough. He didn't have time to watch what he sent me. It just popped up in his YouTube recommendations, and he knew enough to DM it to me immediately. Because tonight, for the first time ever on this channel, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have Drag Queen Story Hour, specifically focused on banned books in a church. This is like, and it's 2 days old, and it just got uploaded to YouTube, and I'm going to show you the church that uploaded it. And it's only got 84 views. This is the stuff that I live for. This is the stuff that there is nothing that I love more covering on this channel than videos that we have of random stuff that no one has ever watched before except for us. And we get to be the first ones to watch it. And it's awesome. And I got to tell you guys, so this might not look like a church, right? This might not look like much, but let me just show you. This is a full-on, we are having a full-on Drag Queen Story Hour experience today. And this is a church. This is a church in San Francisco, of course, called Calvary Presbyterian Church. Now I'm just going to reload their website. I want to show you what's on their website. Hang on. God, the original they, them. This is the church that did the Queer Drag Queen Story Hour. They have a giant ass sign. Here, I'll reload it. It moves. They have a giant ass sign hanging on their building saying, God, the original they, them. They also have a picture of the drag queen on the homepage. We scroll down. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that this is going to be pretty great. And they do live streams. And they have Pride Month at the church. And that's what they're doing right now. And they have food parties and tea gardens. And they go to baseball games. And then they also have Drag Queen Story Hour with banned books. And they wear t-shirts that say, protect trans kids. I think we've been given, you know what this really is? You know what this really is? This is a gift from God. The universe is smiling at us. The universe is winking. The universe is saying, you haven't had, you know what, Karlyn, you cover some crazy stuff on your show, but like, maybe you need just a little nugget of like extra crazy. Maybe you just, yeah, I think this is going to be great. I think this is going to be great. Hey, you just got my book. That's pretty great. Hope you enjoy it, Tommy. So we're going to be watching today the full Drag Queen Story Hour, focusing on banned books in the church that says the original, God is the original they, them on the building. And it's going to be awesome. And I just can't think of anything better. I think this is the perfect exercise for Queer Marxism Month, which is ending soon. And that doesn't mean we're going to stop covering queer Marxism. You know what? We can do queer Marxism perpetually. Queer Marxism is the most dystopian ideology of the left. We don't need to just do queer Marxism during Queer Marxism Month. We're going to do queer Marxism perpetually because I'm working on 2 books about it. So I need to research. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be watching Drag Queen Story Hour. Before we get into that, This is not the last stream I will be doing today. It is but the first stream I'll be doing today because we have another spy stream call later on tonight. And this spy stream call is with an organization that is called Labor Day or May Day to Labor Day. It says from May Day to Labor Day. So May Day was the original set of protests on May 1st. Labor Day indicates they're going to be protesting all summer long. And what's interesting about this one, do you guys remember that senator that got arrested? Senator Padilla? I think that was the senator that got arrested, right? The senator that got arrested by the Trump administration for causing a disruption. He is going to be on the call tonight. And so we're going to be spy streaming that call. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. I usually start the stream just before that. We got plenty of time between now and then, but I just want to let everyone know if you need to, go get some alcohol or a snack or something like that. We are going to be doing an extra long set of streams today because we have live organizing calls to cover, and that's really great. If you guys appreciate the work I'm doing, head over to my Substack, Karlyn, Karlyn, .substack.com. Sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. I am 100% independently funded by people like you, and the only way I can spend so many hours streaming a day on the internet showing you what the left is doing is because you guys step up and support my work. I do not take political money from anyone. I am not part of any political tribe. My only job is to show you what's going on in the full context. I will break down the language. I will explain what it all means, but you will see the left directly here. You will not have any filter. You will not have anyone telling you what to think. I will show you the receipts, and then you can decide for yourself what you think about it and what you want to do about it. And if you want to start obsessing about the left, like people in my community have, because it's crazy once you start getting into it, you learn to speak a whole new language. You learn how messed up the world really is. You learn that this is a bigger problem than most people think. And if you want to come and suffer with all of us, you can come and do that here in my community. And if you can afford to support my work, which keeps the community going, please sign up as a supporter on. I will make you miserable and black-pilled if you sign up as a supporter on my Substack, but at least you'll have a community of people that you can be miserable and black-pilled with. See, like Kazmar, see, that's the spirit. That's the spirit. Love your spy streams. Appreciate you. Can we say that we are bilingual? Yeah, why not? People make stuff up all the time. Why not? Anyway, guys, check out my Substack for that. Also, I posted a thread on Twitter earlier that will be going up on my Substack, but I didn't have time to put it on my Substack before I went live. Let me just show you guys the thread that is on my Twitter right now that will be going up on my Substack, and you can read it in Twitter if you want to. I went through. So one of the zines that I got when I was in Boston the other week was a DIY hormone guide. And so I went through the entire trans femme and trans mask DIY hormone guide, and you guys can see for yourself. Now, I want to emphasize this. This was a pamphlet on a table directed explicitly at trans kids. Every other piece of literature on that table, and I wish I had gotten a picture of this, but I didn't because I didn't want to get caught. Every other piece of literature on the table was explicitly targeted towards trans kids. And then these were in the center of the table. Here's your DIY hormone guide. So they can have all the plausible deniability they want because they do technically say in this, they're like, you really shouldn't start doing hormones legally until you're 18. But if you can't do them legally, here's some guideline information to do this. And you'll see all this in the book. This was explicitly at a place targeting trans kids. So maybe it doesn't say for trans kids on the cover, but the context in which I picked it up, it was completely free. Everyone could pick it up. And because I picked it up, I was able to find digital copies of both the trans femme and trans mask guide on the internet. And you guys can go through and you guys can see, and they had even admitted in these guides that maybe this isn't like the most legal thing in the world, but you probably won't get caught. Let me see if I can actually find that. Hang on. They say it in both of them. Hang on. Where is the legal risk? Oh, check this out. They specifically teach you how to homebrew your own trans femme hormones, which is crazy. Let's see. Where is the legal section? I know it's in here. I literally just looked at this. Oh, is this illegal? Check this out. Ordering these medications almost always carries zero risk of legal consequences. That is because most countries, estrogens and anti-androgens are not controlled substances and are illegal and that are illegal to order or possess. However, ordering medication online without a prescription is unregulated and blah, 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 blah. So they basically say in both of these guides, they're like, this isn't exactly legal, but you're probably not going to get caught. Like they say that in the trans mask guide too. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Hang on. Where did I put it? I was getting like these guides were so long. Ideally, you would be on T through legal means. However, you may not have the privilege, so this guide may be of use to you. Regardless, if you are willing to attempt DIY, it is a preferable option to not being on T at all. Legal considerations. The legal risk of possession of testosterone is very low. Although technically illegal in countries like the US, authorities rarely prosecute individuals for personal use. So again, like this is basically saying, here is everything that you need to know to do DIY hormones, including how to make those hormones in your own house. And, this is probably illegal, but, even if you get caught, probably nothing's going to happen. That's basically what this says. And so you can find the full thread over on my Twitter. I will be putting it on my Substack a little later on today. I didn't have time to do it before the stream because there's just a lot of documents, but I will put it up on the Substack, and you can find that at karlyn.substack.com in perpetuity after that. And, share this out just in case people think that this is not happening, because it is. And again, I'll emphasize one more time. This pamphlet was something that was freely available on a table, obviously targeted at trans kids, that anyone could pick up, and it is freely available on the internet right now. And I'm sure there's many other things that are freely available on the internet on this, but just so you guys know, this is real. And I wanted you to see that. Let me see. What else do I have to say? Oh, check this out. Did you guys know I was in Zero Hedge? I've never been in Zero Hedge before. This was actually pretty effing cool. Hang on. Zero Hedge posted an article, Google searches for Communist Control Act 1954 soar after the socialist mayor's win, and check it out. They posted my video where I was talking about how I didn't necessarily think this was like the worst thing that ever happened. And they said, libertarian Karlyn Borysenko emphasized that Republicans aren't taking the radical left seriously. So true. She said, maybe we need a little bit of accelerationism. True. Maybe we need a socialist mayor to show people the potential reality we're dealing with. Well, that might be painful for New York City. Yeah, well. So that was pretty rad. Someone showed me that today. I was happy. Yup, W me. That was cool. So check out that article. Make sure you share that out. And I appreciate everyone sharing out the video too. The video is also on my YouTube channel if you want to see that. And so you can check that out. Also, I just want to remind people, listen, I know that next weekend is 4th of July weekend. I know that many of you are probably going to a parade and a barbecue and something really fun. But do you know what we're going to do for 4th of July weekend? We are going to spend 2 days streaming the Socialism Conference, and maybe a little extra because it actually starts with an evening session on the first day. So we are going to spend many, 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 many hours together watching socialism live on the internet. And so I know that parade might seem enticing, but do you know what's more enticing to me? Socialism. Live socialism from the Socialism Conference, live streamed directly to their YouTube channel. And I got to tell you, they have the virtual program up on their website right now, and it looks really, really good. So it starts off on Thursday, July 3rd in the evening with their keynote address. That's like the opening session. And then it goes all day on July 4th. I will get up early to do this with you guys. And then it goes all day on Saturday, July 5th. And we're going to have so many great presentations to choose from. Look at this. Indigenous grounded solidarity then and now. Rethinking anti-fascism. labor and the struggle for higher education, abolition and reconstruction today, gender, sexuality, reproduction in the state with Sophie. Sophie is going to be there. Fighting fascism, lessons from the colonies, community as rebellion, building networks of resistance inside and outside the university. The beginning is their end is our beginning. Cops, capitalism, and abolition. The border is everywhere. The border is the crisis. What's at stake? Organizing for climate Armageddon. Fanon at 100. Sexual democracy, moral panics, and trans politics. Like, come on. Come on. And so this is what we're going to be doing. Everyone has to cancel their 4th of July day plans, and you guys are all going to sit on your asses and entertain me as we watch socialism on the internet, and it's going to be great. The Socialism Conference is one of our highlights of the year. Normally it's in September. They moved it up to 4th of July weekend this year for reasons past my understanding, but they're making a point about the colonized United States, whatever. It's your birthday? Well, I can't. Can you think of a better place to spend your birthday? You can eat cake while you watch it. It'll be fine. So I just want to make sure this is on everyone's radar. I know it's coming up really soon, and I want to make sure everyone knows that they're not allowed to do anything else for 4th of July weekend except watch socialism with us. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing, because these are the sacrifices that I make for you. I'm not going to any 4th of July day parade. I ain't going to eat no grilled hot dog. We are going to sit here and we're going to watch the enemy, and we're going to be shocked and amazed at everything we see, and we're going to do it together. Yeah. No one likes parades and barbecues anyway. I didn't even want to go. I didn't even want to go to the town parade. All right. Didn't even want to go to the barbecue. Victor's probably going to run off with one of his friends. No, he can do that. I'll stay home. It's fine. All right, so that is what we're going to be doing, guys. I just want to make sure that's on everyone's calendar so you know that's coming up. And again, if you've never watched socialism with us before and you just wanted to throw, people keep DMing me and they're like, Karlyn, are you going to Chicago for this? Because wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Are you people think I might actually be going? I want to confirm I am not going. I am not going in person. We are going to do the virtual thing. That doesn't mean no one's going. It just means I'm not going. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But that's just going to be the way it is. I shot my shot. I went to the Socialism Conference once. I was undercover for several days. They now look for me at these things. I don't want to get my ass kicked in Chicago by a bunch of fucking Antifa socialists, okay? But that doesn't mean that other people can't. That doesn't mean I'm just saying that maybe other people are. So that's what we're going to be doing. All right, let's dig into our drag queen story hour, shall we? Who's ready for drag queen story hour? It's going to be awesome. All right, we are watching Drag Queen Banned Book Story Hour from Calvary Presbyterian Church, and this is in San Francisco. And please make sure you mount the like button for me. Mounting the like button lets YouTube know to recommend my content to more people. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel because YouTube unsubscribes people all the time. And yeah, just sit back and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Drag Queen Banned Book Story Hour. I want to thank Jane Manning Hyatt for all of the treats in the back. Please avail yourself to those. To Ethan, who is running our live stream right now. Hello out there in Facebook and YouTube land and wherever else we're broadcasting. A special thanks to Jess Churchill, Amy Ovalles, Cindy Carroll, and Sarah Anderson, who will be circulating some sign-in sheets. And would you just please, if you're in the database...
As a reminder, I can't make their sound louder, but what I can do is make my mic softer. And then everyone can turn up their own volume. And that's the only fix that I have.
Already just sign your name, it's fine. But if you're not,
so hopefully that's better.
The next time we have an event like this allows us to notify you. I want to point out first to welcome our guests. So first, who is here in this church for the first time? Yay!
Yay!
hasn't been to church in a long time, welcome. Glad
Welcome, sinners.
you get free T-shirts. Just tell them Victor said you get free T-shirts. Are there queer families here to welcome? Welcome. Yes, beautiful. And queer people who have braved the church. Yes, thank you. Yes, all right. And how about straight allies? Yes, all right. Yes, beautiful. So, straight allies and all of us, but mostly straight allies, you are how change happens. It is on your compassion that all of this depends, that equality depends. I want to welcome and point out a few individuals. Becca Robbins over at the table right there.
Well, okay, hang on. I saw Nick Fuentes tweet this earlier. Nick Fuentes tweeted that people are mad that the New York City socialist governor nominee said he didn't want to go to Israel, not because of what he believes. Well, Nick is right about that. I actually do believe that. I think Nick is 1,000% right. Can I just complain about that for a second? Hang on. First of all, what Nick is wrong about, Nick said he was a progressive Democrat. That socialist mayor nominee is not a progressive Democrat. He's not a progressive Democrat in any way. He is a far left radical revolutionary socialist for real. So Nick was wrong about that piece. But what Nick is right about is the reason people are so pissed off is because he's anti-Zionist, which is also, by the way, why he won. I'm pretty sure. But did you guys see the talking point that conservatives were doing on this? The conservative talking point, I shit you not, is not that they're talking about his radical revolutionary socialist beliefs because they don't actually understand them. The conservative talking point against this guy is he's going to implement Sharia law in New York City. Conservatives don't deserve to be helped. I'm sorry. If your biggest talking point against an actual radical revolutionary socialist is he's going to implement Sharia law, that is the most retarded fucking thing I have ever heard in my life. Do they not understand? I know, Bobby, this isn't your fault. I'm not taking this out on you. I'm just saying in general. Do they not understand how cringe and stupid they sound? He's going to implement Sharia law and you're all going to have to wear a burqa. Bro. They don't deserve our help. They really don't. There is a reason we shit on conservatives all the time on this channel. No offense to the good conservatives that are here. If you're one of the good conservatives, if you are a conservative that understands that the talking point he's going to implement Sharia law is retarded, you're not who we're talking about, okay?
It's here from Books Not Bans, which is a nonprofit that sends LGBT-themed books to community groups around the country, especially in hostile areas, because queer narratives are for everyone.
Queer narratives are for everyone.
She told me she was coming. Okay. Lynn Gerber. Oh. Lynn Gerber is here. Yes. Lynn Gerber is from MCC San Francisco. Can I say that? Yeah, sure. And where I used to be the pastor, and until I came to Calvary. And Lynn is a scholar in the best, most wonderful sense of the term. She has spent over a decade pouring through recordings of worship services from Metropolitan Community Church of San Francisco, which was the second queer welcoming church in the world back in 1968. She has focused her research on the worst years of the AIDS pandemic, and what she uncovered is so beautiful and so powerful. She's turned it into a podcast called When We All Get to Heaven. What a day of rejoicing that will be. And it sent me into a crying jag just listening to the promo for it, and I hope you will give it a listen. And Lynn has little cards to give out about when we all get to heaven. Yeah. I want to introduce Laurel McCall. Laurel is here from to your right. Laurel's here from Green Apple Books, and we'll be selling the Hoffman books. And now on the stage, I would like to introduce Sarah and Ian Hoffman. So glad you're here. They would not be here without Susie Williams, who hooked us up. Sarah and Ian are the authors of Jacob's New Dress, Jacob's Room to Choose, Jacob's School Play, starring he, she, and they, made famous at Calvary just moments ago, and Jacob's Missing Book. Their books have won numerous awards, and they are number 72 on the ALA's list of the top banned books of the decade.
Snaps! Snap, guys!
They're working to make the world a better place for over 25 years, and they are part of a group of authors whose books are targeted by the recent Supreme Court case you will be hearing more about in a bit. Please welcome Sarah and Ian Hoffman. So, just a quick question. Why drag at church? Somebody asked me this week.
It's a good question.
Some reasons. Number 5. Because tolerance is not enough. Number 4. Because Jesus sought out people who were targeted by religious authorities and the empire. Number 3. Because Jesus hung out with those people and got into good trouble.
Ha!
Number 2, because Calvary is a congregation that follows Jesus in 2025. Number 1, because in the Bible, gender is a fluid spectrum. And let me tell you something, in the Christian Century, that old conservative magazine that we all know, beautiful work that they have done forever. But in the most recent edition, there is a beautiful article on gender fluidity in the Hebrew Bible. And I've made some copies, and they're over there on the table if you want to take one. It is.
One of the primary goals of Queer Marxists, just in case people don't know, one of the primary goals of Queer Marxists is to abolish the gender binary. Abolishing the gender binary means abolishing the concepts of men and women. They believe that the concepts of men and women are socially constructed concepts created by capitalism, which put men in the workplace where they had access to all the power and all the money, women in the home doing the unpaid labor of having and raising the next generation of proletarian workers in the nuclear family. This created the gender hierarchy. The gender hierarchy is also called the patriarchy. The patriarchy only exists because of the socially constructed categories of men, the oppressors, and women, the oppressed. In order to achieve equity, they need to flatten the hierarchy. The easiest way to flatten the hierarchy is to abolish the concepts of men and women entirely. The left does not want to just abolish men. The left does not want to just abolish women. They want to abolish the socially constructed categories of gender. One of the ways they do that is by teaching people that gender is fluid. Gender is a spectrum. You can change your gender as easily as changing an outfit. This is the basis of what Drag Queen Story Hour is. Drag Queen Story Hour is not about sexualizing children. That's what we call a conservative bullshit narrative. Now, I'm not suggesting that sexualization doesn't happen. It does happen, and it's a big problem, and people should take care of that problem too. What I am suggesting is that the goal of Drag Queen Story Hour is a completely different problem, which is teaching kids via a cartoon-like character in the form of a drag queen that your gender is fluid. You can put on a sparkly dress and glitter and all this stuff, and you can change your gender just like you change your outfits. Your gender can be different every single day of the week. You're not just man or woman. You're not just boy or girl. This is what they're trying to teach kids, that gender is a spectrum. Because if gender goes from being a biological reality to a spectrum, then that is how they abolish the gender binary, by teaching kids that it doesn't exist. They can't pass a law saying thou shalt not reference men and women, although they do training saying you can't say mother or father or boys or girls or things like that. how they do this is they have to get it into the minds of the next generation when they're young enough to not be able to intellectually defend themselves. That is why we have all this bullshit with churches teaching stuff like gender is fluid in the Bible, and the Bible is very clear about this, that gender is fluid. Let's listen to this again. Let's listen to his entire list about why churches teach queer theory.
So, just a quick question. Why drag at church? Somebody asked me this week, and I came up with some reasons. Number 5, because tolerance is not enough. Number 4, because Jesus sought out people who were targeted by religious authorities and the empire. Number 3, because Jesus hung out with those people and got into good trouble. Number 2, because Calvary is a congregation that follows Jesus in 2025. Number 1, because in the Bible, gender is a fluid spectrum. And let me tell you something, in the Christian Century, that old conservative magazine that we all know, beautiful work that they have done forever. But in the most recent edition, there is a beautiful article on gender fluidity in the Hebrew Bible. And I've made some copies, and they're over there on the table if you want to take one. It is, that it's in the Christian Century is news, but that it's done this well is just, I can die, okay? Now, the most supreme reason.
What he's saying there, does anyone know what magazine he's referencing? The Christian Century. He's saying it's a conservative magazine. What I want you guys to notice, if that is actually a conservative Christian magazine, and they're talking about how gender was fluid in the Bible, then that shows you right there how effective the left is. And this actually came up as a theme on a spy stream we did last night. On spy stream we did last night, what were they talking about? They were talking about how as soon as Elon Musk put out that email saying to all federal employees, tell me 5 things you did last week or 3 things you did last week. As soon as that email went out, federal employees started organizing within these secret signal groups to say, we're not going to tell you what work we did last week. And then that organization trickled out to the unions, and then the unions started getting involved and made it difficult to get a 3 bullet point email from federal employees saying, here's what we did last week. And here's the big point to this, then Trump's cabinet started rebelling against it and saying, no, our employees are not going to send you guys an email saying 3 things they did last week. So what I want you to understand is it goes from far left organizing to unions in the case of the Elon Musk email to all of a sudden the same ideas that are being organized on the far left trickle into conservative circles, and then they end up using them against their own effing people. And it kind of seems like the same thing just happened with this church, which is this whole queer gender doesn't exist thing has existed in the world for the while. The whole point of Drag Queen Story Hour is to teach kids that gender isn't real. So they've been pushing this stuff for a while. And then all of a sudden, conservative publications start to publish things saying gender was fluid in the Bible. So all of these conservative groups who are like, we hate communism, but gender was fluid in the Bible, they don't even know what the communists are pushing, and that's why they walk right into the trap every single time, and that's why the left wins.
For Dragon Church is Sister Roma. Roma was born in conservative German Reform Grand Rapids, the internet, and she graduated from St. Thomas Aquinas College with a B.
So people in the chat are saying the Christian Century is a progressive magazine. Isn't it funny then that the queer pastor called it a conservative magazine? So it's the magazine self-identifies as progressive, But the real far leftist, in the form of this queer pastor, is like, that's not left enough for us. Are you kidding? They're conservative by our standards. That's funny. We got that link. Can someone with a can one of the mods put that link in the chat? I would appreciate it. Thank you.
EABS. I did not know there was a Barbra Streisand degree. She's more than a glamazon with a habit. She's the most photographed nun on earth. She's raised millions of dollars for people living with HIV/AIDS, and I'm one. Roma was the evening hostess for this final year of the AIDS life cycle ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles. It raised $17.5 million. And separately, Roma and the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. We have Sister Trudy is here also. Yes, out of habit. Yes. They have raised millions for people living with HIV and AIDS. So please, if you go near Sister Roma, mind your wallet.
And your jewelry.
Yeah. She put the drag and drag queen band book story hour. Please welcome Sister Roma.
Thank you.
Excuse me, have you read the article that he's referring to? Because I have it on my screen right now. And the literal title of the article is "In the Talmud, Gender is Not Binary. The Bible employs many merisms in two contrasting words to stand in for the whole. Male and female is one of them." So no, he's not referring to the Talmud when he says this. They are saying this is in the Bible. You don't get to make shit up here to advance your narrative. I'm sorry. Ted, thank you. Your tenacity and effort in exposing this is appreciated. I do appreciate that, guys. If you feel like sending in a super chat, I do have a $100 super chat goal. If you want to throw in $5 super chat, $10 super chat is a thank you for me driving myself crazy for you guys. Please feel free to do so.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here on this beautiful day in your gorgeous church and community. I felt so welcome already. You're just amazing. I just want to point out how connected we all are. I actually met Sarah and Ian at Becca's band book event at Fabulous Books in the Castro, which maybe if I don't touch it. Which I hosted that event for Becca at Fabulosa Books, and then I went to the book release at Apple Books, and I read this book for the crowd there. So I fell in love with Sarah and Ian immediately, and this entire series of books. The very fact that that it's so controversial that there's someone sitting here in drag reading a banned book is mind-boggling, but the entire world is mind-boggling right now. I mean, we live in a world where diversity, equity, and inclusion are dirty words all of a sudden. And
all of a sudden.
It's scary. It's scary for
all of a sudden. How'd that happen?
Supreme Court decision banning gender-affirming care and healthcare for trans youth is shocking and deplorable. And we have to pray, of course, for all of the people who are suffering the ravages of war from Gaza to Ukraine to Iran.
Hey, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it.
We're struggling. The world is in turmoil, and it can be very daunting. It's very easy to sit and just doom scroll and wonder, what is it all about? What are we going to do? What can I do? Well, I'll tell you what I've seen. I have seen, as Victor pointed out, 2,500 people ride their bicycles 545 miles in community to raise $17 million for important life-saving services for the Los Angeles LGBT Center and the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. I marched with
so true.
other people from San Francisco and the Bay Area in the No Kings March.
You don't say.
Reaffirmed my faith in humanity and made me so proud to live here. Friday night, I hosted the Castro Night Market, when we saw probably several thousand people in the Castro celebrating and enjoying life. And I continue to look around and see our community and most importantly, our allies support ourselves. And basically, we're living our lives authentically and pretty much unbothered. Yes, of course, we're emotionally connected, we're paying attention, we're concerned, we're worried, but at the same time, we're continuing to do what we do. We are living with joy, we are supporting each other, we are holding the most vulnerable dear and close to our hearts. And it makes me so proud to live in San Francisco, to be part of this community. So thank you all for being here and not letting anyone squash your joy, because that's what pisses them off the most. And I'm so joyful, I'm obnoxious, I shoot rainbows out of my butt. How about that? So I don't do drag queen story hour. Some people have asked me about that, and I don't really like kids. I'm just not part of that.
Real.
What I do is I support important causes and things that I believe in and people that I love. And that's why I am here today. So I'm going to read this book to you, and I
hang on. Hey, what is wrong with this person's hands? Am I crazy? What is wrong with this person's hands? I can't unsee this now. This person is like an alien.
That I love. And that's why I am here today. So I'm going to read this book to you, and I hope I can do it well. We'll see. I do know how to read, so don't worry. And are we going to have slides of each page? Is that what's happening up here? That's what we're going to do. Awesome. So I don't have to, Shall we start? Jacob's Missing Book by Sarah and Ian Hoffman, illustrated by Chris Case.
Me's again.
Jacob looked for the penguin book, but it wasn't on the shelf. So he went to the librarian's desk. Mrs. Tolson, the penguin book is missing, said Jacob. Mrs. Tolson frowned. Yes, it is. She reached for a book on the library card. Try this book about bats, Jacob. I think you'll enjoy it. Jacob made room on his bed for his mom, so his mom could snuggle in next to him. What should we read tonight? Asked Jacob's mom. Do you have readers? It's the black text on lavender. Very difficult to read. I have this weird curse where I look fabulous in every pair of glasses. Isn't it wild? It makes it really hard to go to the sunglasses shop because I'm like, I'll take them off. Oh yeah, this is much better. Jacob made room on his bed so his mom could snuggle in next to him. What should we read tonight? Asked Jacob's mom. The penguin book, said Jacob.
The penguin book.
Good choice, said Jacob's mom.
Uh-huh.
She slid the book from the lopsided pile next to Jacob's bed. I tried to read it during library time, said Jacob, but it was missing. That happens, said Jacob's mom. Good thing we have a copy at home. Jacob fell asleep, snuggling his pretend feathers deep in his
Hang on. This is not what they are doing. I cannot emphasize this enough, conservatives. I know that this tees off all your feelings. I really, really do. But every time you guys make shit up about what's going on, you detract from the real problem, which is the goal of abolishing gender. The goal of abolishing gender is what they are trying to do. They are not trying to erode the instinct of a baby/child recognizing their mother. I understand why you might think that, but that is not what they're trying to do. That is not at all on their radar in any way. The goal is to abolish gender. And I know that you guys are going to say, well, we can talk about more than one thing. No, you can't. No, you can't. You have proved successfully over the course of years and years and years and years and years deflecting on this real problem that you cannot talk about more than one thing at once. So this is not correct. The goal is abolishing gender. That is the only thing that matters. Yo, we got like a double super chat. I don't know if that was an accident, but I appreciate the accidental double super chat. Thanks. Thank you for what you do. Full paradigm in a week. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Carrots for dessert? Emily shook her head. Papa always gets it wrong. It's better when Dad makes lunch. My mom does that, said Noah. I tell her, carrots are not dessert. Not agreeable. Who are Papa and Dad? Asked Sophie. My dad, said Emily. You have two dads? Asked Noah. Just like in the Penguin book, said Jacob. Emily nodded. Papa and Dad read that book to me. My grandma even gave me a penguin stuffy. What's the Penguin book? Asked Noah. It's so great, said Sophie. I'll show you in the library. It's not in the library, said Jacob. It's missing. Jacob raised his hand. Miss Reeves, Miss Reeves. Miss Reeves smiled as she crossed the room. Hello, Blue Table, she said. Hello, Jacob. How can I help you? Noah's never read the Penguin book, said Jacob. Miss Tolson says it's missing. Can you ask her to give it to you when she finds it? And then you can read it to us for story time. Miss Reeves opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. She closed her mouth, took a deep breath, and let it out slowly. We're not going to be able to read that book in class anymore, she said. Why? Asked Jacob. Miss Reeves pulled a chair over the kids' table and sat down. Some people are unhappy with the books we have in our library and our classrooms, said Miss Reeves. While the school is trying to figure that out, some of the books have been taken away. The Penguin book is one of them. But what's wrong with the Penguin book? Asked Emily. I'm sorry, but I can't say any more, said Ms. Reeves. My mom says some people don't like the book because the penguins are both dads, said Jacob. Emily shot out of her seat. She leaned across the table and...
Wait. It's a banned book about a fucking banned book. And can I say, this is literally one of the stupidest books that conservatives have ever tried to ban, is the Penguin book. I know exactly. You guys know what the Penguin book is, right? The Penguin book, I forget the name. What is it? What is the fucking name of that book? Someone tell me the name of that book in the chat. This is a book about Tango Makes Three. Yes, Tango Makes Three. Tango Makes Three is a book based on a true story about two male penguins raising a baby penguin. And that's it. And this actually happened. This actually happened at the zoo in, I think, like New York or something like that. And so they wrote a kid's book about it. And it's really cute. Well, because the penguin had two dads, conservatives made a big fuck off stink about trying to get this book banned everywhere. And it's like, yo, I understand you guys hate gay people. I really, really do. But can we please focus on something a little bit more important than a book about two male penguins raising a baby penguin that has no sex in it? They couldn't even make the argument this is about sexualizing children. They had to basically say all gay people are bad, and then they wonder why they don't have anyone on their side. And it's like, you tried to ban one of the most innocuous books that exists in the world. I was even in a group chat with like a whole bunch of conservatives who were really into this whole book banning thing, and they were going on and on and on and on and on about this goddamn Penguin book. And at some point I had to be like, I can't be associated with you people. Like, this is crazy. I don't give a flying F about that Penguin book. So, of course, because conservatives tried to do the stupidest possible thing in banning this Penguin book, not only were they unsuccessful in banning the Penguin book, but what happened? There are now children's books written about the banned book. So, Streisand effect.
Stared at Jacob. What's wrong with having two dads? She said. Nothing, said Ms. Reeves. She placed her hand over Emily's. There is nothing wrong with having two dads. Jacob looked at their hands together. He reached across the table and placed his hand over Emily's too. Emily sat back down. Emily, would you share one of your carrots with me? Sighed Miss Reeves. I could use a treat right now. At recess, Emily hung upside down and looked at Jacob. I can't believe they took away the penguin book, she said. Sophie climbed up, then flipped upside down next to Emily. It's weird, said Sophie. Noah's head appeared at the top of the slide. Hey, he said, what is the penguin book about?
And you notice, too, the minute that you ban the book about the two penguins, all the kids are like, why'd you ban that book? What's in that book? Can we read that book? What's in that book? Why'd you ban that book? Like, if you had literally just left it alone, no one would care. But no, we have to make a big spectacle over something that doesn't even matter. And now more kids are going to end up reading the Penguin book than less kids anyway. Not that the Penguin book hurt anything anyway. But like, conservatives don't think before they do things. This is why every single time someone comes on my channel, and this question always comes from conservatives. In fact, hang on, there was a great meme. Bill made an amazing meme. So you guys know how like every single time like someone on the right finds my channel for the first time, the first thing they do is they say, okay, Karlyn, you say we're not doing the right things to beat the left. What do we need to do? And I tell them, you need to sit down and learn about your enemy. And if you are unwilling to sit down and learn about your enemy, then no tactic that you try to implement will ever defeat them because you haven't taken the time to learn and understand the enemy that you're fighting. My friend Bill sent me this meme that he made earlier. And you've got like the conservative here saying, defend America against the evil communists. And you got me saying, come to my live streams where we study videos from radical leftists themselves to learn how they think and see their plans for trying to overthrow the country. And then the conservative says, LOL, no, that sounds like work. This is exactly the conversation that I have with conservatives all the time. What do we do? What do we do? We want to fight the left. We want to beat the left. And I say, all right, come and learn about your enemy. You have to learn about your enemy. And they go, no, we want you to give us something to do. And I'm said, I'm giving you something to do. What you can do is come to class, come to the streams, sit your ass down, stop talking for about 30 seconds, because every time you talk and you don't know what you're talking about, you say something stupid. So just stop talking and listen to what is being said. It's too hard, and your videos are too long, and I don't want to spend several hours watching Karlyn, why can't you just make a 10-minute video telling me what I need to do? Because that's not the way this works. It's not the way this works. Either you care about defeating your enemy, or you don't care about defeating your enemy. And that is really the beginning and the end of the conversation. And if you care about defeating your enemy, you need to learn who your actual enemy is and what they're doing and how they operate and how they think. And if you don't care about beating your enemy, just keep raging about communists and fucking penguin books with 2 male penguins raising a baby penguin on the internet and see how far that gets you. Literally no one's sexual fetish is being glorified right now. Can you please stop making shit up? This is not happening. This is not happening in reality. You are inventing this. Hang on, gotta get the sound set up.
We'll show you, said Jacob. Let's play penguin. The kids ran around the playground gathering rocks for a nest. Sophie found the perfect rock for a penguin egg. Now we sit on the egg and...
Hang on, we got another super chat from Not Anonymous. Feels like we are 100 years behind. Yeah, basically. Is there hope? I'm new to all of this and apologize if it's been mentioned. I understand we're here to learn, but is there time? Feels like we should have been there a long time ago. Well, okay, here's how I think about it. Because you are right, you're late, but you're new. And listen, it's not your fault you're new. You're new because no one ever gave you this information before. And I've been trying to get this information out there and I've been blocked at every turn by like right-leaning people who don't want to listen. So it's not your fault you're new. Is there time to fix the problem? I don't know. I really don't know. I think that the radical revolutionary far left are going to try to overthrow the government in like the next 10 to 15 years. I think that's what the Civil War is. The Civil War is not red versus blue. It's not Democrat versus Republican. Republicans, generally speaking, are much lazier than they ever dare dream they are. They pontificate about, we're going to go out with the guns and all this stuff on the internet, but they don't even leave their house in a MAGA hat. If they aren't leaving their house in a MAGA hat, they're not going to go out with guns, okay? Like, so I don't think the Republicans are ever going to engage in any sort of civil war, but I do think the radical revolutionary left is going to, and I think they're going to try to overthrow the federal government, and I think that they're just getting all of their pieces in a row right now. Do we have time to stop them? I don't know, man. Maybe, maybe not, but I would rather try than do nothing. And how I'm trying and how I'm contributing to the world is I'm teaching people as much as I possibly can about the real enemy. And I hope that people show up and learn. And when you guys learn, I hope you go out into your communities and you teach people, because what you're going to find if you stick with my content is that once you become fluent in the language of the left, you start seeing it everywhere. And the problem is so much more severe than most people think it is. Like I said earlier, like conservatives are pushing some of these ideas in their own publications, in their own strategies. And so I don't know. If there's time, I would like to try. But we'll see. Thanks for the super chat. Sure, it's important to know the enemy, but for the time it takes to watch 3 videos, I can read a book on communism and the book is better. Hey, Miguel, you read all sorts of books on communism, huh? This is a pop quiz just for Miguel. Miguel, how does the radical revolutionary far left define capitalism? You're reading all these very important books about communism that are teaching you who the enemy is. Can you enlighten us? You know everything about communism from reading books? How does the radical revolutionary far left in America define capitalism? This is just for Miguel, no one else. We're stopping the entire stream just for him so he can show us how smart he is. No. You're talking to me now. You're talking to me. How does the radical revolutionary far left define capitalism? Educate us. We're waiting. We're waiting for you. Show us how much you've learned from all those books you're reading. We're waiting, Miguel. It's very simple. No. You're talking to me. The next thing you say in the chat that is not answering my question, you're getting banned from my chat. You have 2 options. You can either answer the fucking question or you can admit you don't know. Those are your two options right now. How does the radical revolutionary far left define capitalism? You're the one coming in here saying, I could watch videos, but I could just read books, and those books are so much more entertaining for me because I don't take this seriously. I just want to be entertained by content on the internet. Okay, Miguel, so now we're giving you an opportunity to show us how much you've learned from your books. How does... No. Shut the fuck up unless you want to answer my question. Your 2 options for answers are, how does the far left define capitalism? And you give us a definition, or you admit you don't know. If you say anything else in the chat, you are permanently banned, and you can go read all your books where you will never learn anything from those books. You think you're going to learn everything from a book when you could listen to what real activists are saying and doing in the real world? You don't even know how the left defines capitalism, bro. Everyone in my audience, and I'm going to prove this, knows how the left defines capitalism. You know nothing. So you're going to come in here and tell us how to teach and how to learn? You don't know shit, bro. I'm still waiting for your answer. I'm not learning anything from your podcast either. Fuck you and goodbye. So this is what happens, guys. This is what happens. This is why I have a curated audience. I only want people here who are serious about learning about the left. This is not serious. This is why the right loses constantly. They don't know basic 101 level information, and yet they think they know everything when in fact they know nothing. And so now I will ask other people in my chat, everyone can answer now, How does the far left define capitalism? Which you will probably never read about in a book because there are very few books that say this explicitly. How does the far left define capitalism? Private property ownership. This is a 101 level question. Private property ownership, private property ownership, private property. Look at all those private properties. Oh, you wanted to hear him talk about Mark Levin and the Frankfurt School? Yeah, or the Franklin School, exactly. Look at that. Look at that. Everyone in my chat knows that watches my content. They know the answer to this question. Even new people know the answer. And this is why we have a curated audience on this channel. You guys know more than like literally anyone about the left. Yes, private property ownership includes children. And every single time a new person comes into the channel and they say, I don't need to watch a long video to learn. I can just read a book. And you're really mean on the internet. And I don't like you. They don't know anything. Every single fucking time. We did have a super chat come in. Andre says, because of laziness to learn how to defeat the left, conservatives are losing entire red cities in red states. Laziness is the biggest human terminator. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? There is no shortcut to learning this information. You have this is not something you can cheat. This is not something, I can't give you an app on your phone that's going to teach you to speak a foreign language in 5 minutes. That doesn't exist. If that's what you're looking for, Fox News is a great option. Libs of TikTok is a great option. The conservative bullshit con artists, they're a great option. All of those people are going to lie to you, and they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear, and you're going to feel really good, and you're going to get your talking points in a video that is 60 seconds or less. This channel is for serious people who want to do serious deep dives into the far left. Bye! Bye! We're banning you now. Don't try to come back. Bye! Everyone say bye to him. He's not smart enough to be here anyway. Bye! Go read your books, bro. You won't learn anything, but go read your books. Bye!
Hatch the baby penguin, explained Jacob. I'll be the first dad. I'll be the second, said Sophie. Then you need to take care of the baby penguin until it grows up, said Jacob. My dad say babies are hard work, said Emily, but that I was worth it. Should I get us some fish? Asked Sophie. The sandbox could be the ocean, said Jacob. Be right back, said Sophie, waddling away. I want to be the baby penguin when it hatches, said Emily. No, I want to be the baby penguin, said Noah. I'm the one with two dads, said Emily. Okay, grumbled Noah. But I got to be the baby penguin next time. The rest of Miss Reed's class wanted to play too. Soon there were penguin nests all over the playground. When the bell rang, many happy penguins waddled back to class. I see you picked the penguin book again, said Jacob's mom as she settled onto his bed. We played penguins at school, said Jacob, and hatched eggs. That is delightful, said Jacob's mom. We had to explain the story to Noah because they took the book away from school, said Jacob. Emily is really sad the book's gone.
Look at the mom's
Jacob's
face.
mom sighed. I bet she is. Mom, do you think the school can get the penguin book back? Asked Jacob. I don't know, said Jacob's mom. She kissed him on top of his head. We can try. Okay, smiled Jacob.
They wrote a children's book about fighting the book bans. You guys think the left isn't like a mile and a half ahead? Did I not say this was going to happen in 2021 when I first started calling Moms for Liberty out on this shit? Was I the first person on the internet to call out Moms for Liberty for this colossally stupid book banning strategy? Because I did that in 2021. Literally as soon as Moms for Liberty started pushing this shit, I was like, no, this is a bad idea. You retards, stop doing this right now. That was, 4 years ago? And then I got ostracized and blocked because I dared to question the astroturfed bullshit organization that is Moms for Liberty. And now look a lot of people owe me $2. If I was right and you were wrong, you owe me $2. That is the rule. And then 4 years later, it turns out that not only has the book banning bullshit been a colossal failure that has failed at literally every single turn. Maybe they got a couple books banned here and there, but there are no book bannings on a mass scale. In fact, every single time those idiots try to ban a book, the book gets more popular, it gets awards, more people read it, all that stuff. And now, not only and by the way, more socialist books got produced in this time period. So every single time the Moms for Liberty retards got one book banned out of the library, it was replaced with like 5 more books that they didn't know about. So nothing was really lost to the left. They just kept churning out these books over and over and over again. And now you're literally telling me that not only did the left just churn out these books to replace the books that they were successful in getting out of the library, the left literally used it as an opportunity to teach children how to fight the scary book bans. And aren't all those people that are banning books monsters? This is all because of Moms for Liberty. All of it. It was such a colossal failure as a strategy, and it's still going on today. So go fuck yourself, Tiffany. Go fuck yourself, Tiffany Justice. Seriously. This is like the prime example of, if you don't understand the enemy you're fighting, you will not only not be successful in fighting them, you will probably actually make the problem worse. Everyone understands how Moms for Liberty has actually made the problem worse in this scenario, right? They actually made the problem worse. Tens of millions of dollars. Tens of millions of dollars have been wasted funding this Moms for Liberty bullshit.
Now read. So relatable to so many people. The story is told in a voice that.
How should they have gone about the books? Ignored them and not given them any attention and focus on something that actually matters. The books never mattered. The reason they used the books is because it was an easy way to spin up conservatives to raise money. The books were never the primary problem, because most of the time the books that they were trying to ban were sitting on a library shelf and no one was reading them and no one was giving it any attention. The minute Moms for Liberty is like, let's shine a big spotlight on all the books we don't like, then the left is like, hey guys, let's read all these books and let's give these books award and let's hand these books out for free to the kids. Moms for Liberty increased the circulation on every single book they went after. And then libraries got wise to their bullshit, and libraries started putting policies in place basically designed to prevent Moms for Liberty from banning any more books from the library. Does everyone know that happened, right? Oh, you don't know because conservative media never told you? See, we watch actual socialist training on this channel, and we watched a lot of librarian trainings. And one of the things we've learned from the librarian trainings is that libraries put policies in place specifically based on Moms for Liberty strategies, so those strategies didn't work anymore. So, what was actually accomplished? Nothing. Why was nothing accomplished? Because they didn't understand the enemy they were fighting.
I have questions that you sent me, but I need to know, how did you decide to write this book?
Good question. You want to start?
I'll start. So our books, we'll get to this later, but we have other books, and they're all banned in about 26 states at this point.
They're all banned, so you should go buy them.
Check our bans, which we get our Google alerts like all good authors do. And a little closer, okay. And we were kind of a little bit in despair with the fact that our books were disappearing from schools and libraries across the country, and we weren't really sure what to do. And one day I was having lunch with my friend Charlie, he started making bad jokes about book bans just to cheer me up, and we came up with the concept of writing a book about banned books for little kids, which
is possibly the worst concept of a children's book ever.
Yeah.
What child would want to read that? And as it became funnier, we started to write it down, and then that became this book. We're authors, and we realized that our contribution to this moment.
So let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about this. Hang on. Let's talk about what happened. Moms for Liberty puts all this money into banning a whole bunch of books. They specifically banned or went after the books that this guy wrote. This guy got pissed off and was like, you know what I'm going to do? Not only am I going to fight you on the banned books thing, not only am I going to go all over the country and get all sorts of awards for my books, and I'm going to go say my books are banned by Moms for Liberty, and I'm going to do this everywhere, which is going to increase the sales of my books that Moms for Liberty wanted banned. In addition to doing all of that, I'm going to write a book for kids to teach them how bad banning books is. So now you got this famous children's book author that has been made even more famous because of the Moms for Liberty bullshit, who is selling more books, not less books, more books because of the Moms for Liberty bullshit. And then he goes the extra mile and he's like, it is not enough that I'm making more money right now and selling more books and getting my work out there even more than I was before. And my books are winning awards and they're on all the shelves at the libraries that are telling the parents to fuck off because they don't want to ban them, and which a lot of libraries did, by the way. Not only is that going to happen, but now I'm going to go one step further and I'm going to write a book for your kids about why book banning is stupid and wrong. And then I'm going to make more money. And then I'm going to go on a speaking tour all over the country where I'm talking about all these banned books that I wrote. And isn't this so bad for me? Do you guys see how this backfires? It was always going to backfire.
Is to write books.
And thank you for that beautiful reading. I cried at the same point when we read it yesterday in a different church.
Yeah, it's such an emotional story, and you managed to remain somehow sort of.
No. The book that they're talking about was also banned in Florida. So no, you are wrong. Sorry.
Neutral, almost. I get the opinion that Ms. Reeves, the teacher, is not in favor of removing that book, and his mother obviously is also pissed about it. But how did you maintain civility? Because some people probably would have had a different tone when they came to writing that book.
Yeah, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes cursing, but we try and keep that out of it. And we wanted to represent for the adults reading it that for the teachers and the parents and for librarians and other adults involved, this is a terrible situation about which they can say very little because it's baffling. But not saddle the kids down with that, except to the extent that kids notice when we hesitate and say, can I have a carrot? Because they don't, there's nothing to be said right now. But we wanted to focus the story on the kids' experience and how kids can come up with their own solutions to adult-created problems, even if they don't understand them, or, we don't understand them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful way that they did that. The idea to have them play penguins and basically act out the book. Are you familiar with the penguin book? Of course, right? Would you like to briefly describe it?
For those of you who haven't read it, the book we're referring to is And Tango Makes Three by Justin Richardson and Peter Cornell. And it's a true story of two penguins in the Central Park Zoo named Roy and Silo. And Roy and Silo were a couple. And they noticed all the other penguin couples sitting on their eggs in a nest. And so they made a nest of rocks. They didn't have an egg. So they rolled a rock in and they sat on that. And that didn't work. So zookeepers noticed what was going on. And when another penguin couple abandoned an egg, because sometimes penguins lay two and they can only care for one, they took the egg and they gave it to Roy and Silo, who hatched it. And that baby became Tango, because they say in the book, it takes two to make a tango. And this book was a huge favorite in our household. Our daughter Ruby, who's here with us today, I don't know, maybe it's still your favorite book, but she's 20 now. So she's spent her whole childhood asking us to read this book, and there's penguin art projects all over our house, and there were penguin book reports as she got older, and it was a very important book in our house. And it's also beautifully written, so if you haven't read it, it's worth reading.
So one of the other important aspects of Entango Makes 3 is it's one of the top 10 most banned books in the United States, despite being nonfiction and about penguins. So anytime we saw that one of our books was being banned, we knew that Tango was being banned too.
One of the top 10 banned books in the United States. A book about penguins that isn't even sexual. Thanks, Moms for Liberty. Great job. Great work. Excellent. You really saved us all there.
In that whatever school district that was. So not only did we love the book, but we felt a real sense like we were comrades.
So beautiful. And yeah, I can only imagine, are there any educators or teachers here? I met a principal out there earlier. Sister Tootie is a teacher. Yes, thank you for your service, but also I can only imagine the frustration that you would feel having literally having your tongue tied, your hands tied, being told certain things that you can and cannot teach, but it's such an important story to share. You just want people to feel included. Was there a personal reason? Do you have members of in your family who identify as trans?
Good question. Not as trans per se. However, our son Sam, who's now 23, when he was 2 years old, he wanted everything pink in the world. He wanted to wear a dress. He wanted to wear pink shirts and have long hair and wear tutus and take dance class, and he would have been so enamored with you. And if I could take a moment,
Probably.
one of the things I love about Roma is she's so modest. So I just want to take a moment to call out our son's preschool teacher from when he was 2, Sandra. She was his first accepting teacher. In the same room at the same school, there was another teacher who did not believe that boys should do girl things, as she said, and she made that very clear. Now, he was 2 and a little bit of...
Do you know what the problem is? Conservatives believe that everything should be entertainment. Conservatives basically believe that everything should be shitty reality TV. The goal of Drag Queen Story Hour is not to entertain your kids. Entertainment is not the goal. The goal is to teach them that gender isn't real, that gender is fluid, that you can change your gender as easy as changing an outfit. That's it. Whether or not the kids are entertained doesn't fucking matter. Whether or not the kids find it interesting doesn't fucking matter. And no, I promise you that when you were 5 or 6 or 7, you did not have the critical thinking ability to say, hey, this just all seems a little strange and I just don't buy into this. No, you didn't. Do you know how I know that? Because I studied psychology for a really long time, and that's not how the brain develops. You might think you did as an adult, but you did not have that capability as a child, and that is the point. Hey, thanks, Bad Cat. Appreciate it. Penguin, penguin, penguin.
Oblivious to that. But as he got older, he certainly had people telling him he shouldn't do the things he wanted to do. And so when he was 4, unfortunately not in Sandra's classroom anymore, although he did have lovely teachers, but he had kids telling him.
If we reach the super chat goal, I will play the penguin song on the way out.
You can't be a boy and wear a dress. Oh, actually, cute story. So he's 4, he wants to wear a dress, and we were worried about him. So we gave him little things he could say, like, don't tease me, or just say no. Because we thought it might be hard to come up with something to say in that moment. Go get a teacher. And he came home from his first day of wearing a dress, and we said, how did it go? He said, it was great. And we said, did anyone tease you? And he said, yeah. I said, well, what did you say? He said, I told them I can be a boy and wear a dress because it is my choice.
Well, that speaks volumes.
Hang on, I want to get that again. Hang on, I'm sorry, what? So they're sending their son to school in a dress.
He made that very clear. Now, he was 2 and a little bit oblivious to that. But as he got older, he certainly had people telling him he shouldn't do the things he wanted
Bro, I don't know why you're not listening. I don't know why you're not fucking listening. I have told you explicitly what it is no less than 3 times in this video. I need you to listen to what I am saying. Are you listening? Can you please confirm in the chat that you're listening, because you seem not to be listening, and so now I need to make sure that you are listening so I don't have to repeat this again. Are you listening? Can you please confirm? Okay, thank you. You are listening. No, it is not to cut down on male aggression. The goal is to abolish gender. They don't want the concept of man to exist. They don't want the concept of woman to exist. They think these are socially constructed categories. The idea that they're trying to cut down on male aggression is a conservative bullshit narrative, or a manosphere bullshit narrative. They do not want the categories of men and women to exist at all in any way. That is it. That is all it is. Do you have questions? And I don't mean to be a dick, but when I say something 4 or 5 times in a single episode, and I still have people that are not listening to what is being said, it gets a little irritating to have to repeat it again and again and again. And sometimes you idiots need to be slapped upside the head so that you actually start to listen. You need to, if you really want to learn about the left, you need to throw out every conservative bullshit talking point that you have ever learned. Because conservatives and right-wingers have no clue what the left believes. And it sucks, and it's horrible that they've misinformed so many people. But reality is reality. Do you have questions about what I just said? Please confirm in the chat. And anyone else can ask a question too. The goal is to teach children that gender doesn't exist. Gender is a spectrum. Gender is fluid. You can change your gender as easy as changing an outfit. That is what the goal of Drag Queen Story Hour is, always has been, and always will be. They believe capitalism created the concept. I explained this earlier, but I'll explain it again. They believe that capitalism, which is defined as private property ownership, created the socially constructed categories of men and women. They put men in the workplace where they had all the power and all the money, women in the home where they did the unpaid labor of raising the next generation of proletarian workers in the nuclear family. These socially constructed categories are a hierarchy where men have all the power and women do the unpaid labor. This is called the patriarchy. Hierarchy creates oppression. The only way to get rid of the hierarchy is to get rid of the categories. This, where they eliminate the categories of men and women, is called equity, where everyone is at the same level. When the left says non-binary, they literally mean no gender binary. No men, no women. That's why. Cool. We're good.
And so when he was believe that boys should do girl things, as she said, and she made that very clear. Now he was too and a little bit oblivious to that, but as he got older, he certainly had people telling him he shouldn't do the things he wanted to do. And so when he was 4, unfortunately not in Sandra's classroom anymore, although he did have lovely teachers, but he had kids telling him, you can't be a boy and wear a dress.
No. Sorry. They are not saying that men oppresses women. They're saying capitalism oppresses everyone. It's not just that men oppress women. Capitalism created the socially constructed categories that oppress everyone. That is what they're saying. Here's a real dumb question. Would they eventually want to abolish the category species so humans and animals are simply beings? Well, you're asking it because you think they're going to want to do like bestiality and stuff like that, which is not what they want to do. They don't talk about that at all. What I will tell you is that eventually they do want to abolish all categories because they believe that all oppression is created by all, they believe that all oppression is created by categories. So if you have categories, you're going to have a hierarchy. And if you have a hierarchy, you have oppression. So they do eventually want to abolish all categories for everything. But I want to be very, very clear about this. They don't talk about the animal stuff at all. I think, again, this is something that comes from the conservative bullshit narrative. It's not something the left talks about. So while they do want to abolish all categories eventually, this is not on their radar for their thought process at all. But I appreciate the question. And listen, there are no such things as dumb questions. I appreciate you asking the question. But that's my answer to it for now. No, you're still not fucking getting it. No. This is why I yell. This is why I yell right here. You are still not fucking listening. This has nothing to do with white men are not getting hired. It has nothing to fucking do with this. This has to do with teaching children that gender is not real. Can you please, for the love of God, stop making shit up in my chat? I understand that you're new and I'm willing to answer your questions, but when you come into my chat and go, but in reality, what they're really doing is this DEI stuff that's against white men in the workplace. You have no fucking clue what you're talking about, okay? You have no fucking clue. Everything that you are talking about is 19 levels of trickle down from the origin of all of this stuff, which is what we're talking about. So my advice to you is to sit in the back and to listen as much as possible. And if you have a question about something, ask it as a question. But I don't want to see any more statements from you saying, this is really about DEI for white men. I don't want to hear it, because that's not what it is. And right now, what you're telling me is that you're not listening to what I'm saying. So now you are being relegated to, you can ask questions, but I don't want to hear anything else from you in my chat that's not a question, okay? Again, I'm trying to get this whole clip in.
Unfortunately, not in Sandra's classroom anymore, although he did have lovely teachers, but he had kids telling him, you can't be a boy and wear a dress. Oh, actually, cute story. So he's 4, he wants to wear a dress, and we were worried about him. So we gave him little things he could say, like, don't tease me, or just say no. Because we thought it might be hard to come up with something to say in that moment. Go get a teacher. And he came home from his first day wearing a dress.
Do they think markets are inherently private property? Are markets okay? Bro, they want to eliminate all money. So no, markets are not going to exist in the socialist utopia. They want to eliminate all money. They want to eliminate all banks. That's not on their, yeah.
And we said, how did it go? He said, it was great. And we said, did anyone tease you? And he said, yeah. I said, well, what did you say? He said, I told them I can be a boy and wear a dress because it is my choice.
Well, that speaks volumes about your parenting.
No,
So
just
that's
about,
beautiful.
just about.
But also, you know what? Kids are smart. People do not give kids enough credit. Of course, he noticed the book is missing. Of course, they have questions, and of course, they recognize the reason behind it. And you didn't have to. You don't want to sit down with a child and say, well, you know. No.
What did I just fucking say to you? You are still not listening. What did I say to you? I said to sit in the back and shut the fuck up. And if you have a question, you are permitted to ask questions. You are no longer allowed to make statements in my chat until you start asking questions, because I don't think you're learning right now. And the best way to learn is to ask questions. And I'm not convinced that you are learning anything when you're just pontificating and bloviating about things that are completely irrelevant to what we're talking about. So now you are being relegated in the chat to asking questions only. If you continue to not ask questions, I'm going to put you in a timeout. If you come back from that timeout and you continue to not ask questions, I'm going to ban you to prevent you from mucking up my chat. When I tell you over and over again that you are not listening, and then you continue to not listen and not listen, you are defeating the purpose of all of this. It's also disruptive to everything else that's going on. You are in my classroom right now. Why do I think you're not able to get that? Because you one in the chat if you think that white man from town understands what he's talking about. 2 in the chat if you think that white man from town needs to shut the fuck up and start actually listening. 1 in the chat if you think that white man from town has this all figured out. 2 in the chat if you think that white man from town would be better served by shutting the fuck up and actually starting to learn something. Do you see the chat? Do you see the chat? We're not trying to make you feel bad, but your job right now is to shut up and listen. You are in my classroom. I am not in yours. You are here to learn, or you can leave. The chat has spoken. Your role is relegated to the back of the room, and the only time you are allowed to speak is when you are asking a question that is relevant to the content, not to whine and complain.
You know, you have to, the way that you covered it in the book is so appropriate for children. And I imagine that it reflects what actually goes on in many situations. It's beautiful. Why do you think your books are banned?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. So we have 4 books. This is Jacob's New Dress. It's about a little boy who wants to wear a dress. Okay, that's self-explanatory. That one's number 72 on the list of the 100 most banned books of the decade. And number 73 is Lolita. So. This is Jacob's Room to Choose, which is about using the bathroom that's right for you, whatever your gender.
Also inspired by our
They wrote a fucking story about using the bathroom that you want to use. Do you guys know how long some book banning challenges take? Do you guys know that it takes on average several months to process one single book ban? And in the meantime, they're just producing more books. They're writing books about kids being able to pick out their gendered bathroom. They're writing books about book bans being bad. They're writing books saying boys can wear dresses too. And this is all happening. Conservatives are completely fucking oblivious to it because they just had to get that Penguin book banned, damn it. Unbelievable. Dragon Balls, thank you for the super chat. And we are met our goal today. Thank you for Dragon Balls. When conservatives are too lazy to listen to organize and to perpetually fight against the left, they need to realize the left never rests. The struggle is perpetual because they believe it's their sole purpose to liberate. That is 1,000% true, Dragon Balls. Really appreciate the super chat. Thanks for that.
son, because in first grade, when he had to use the whole bathroom with the big kids, he got harassed a lot, and we found out that other parents of kids who didn't look.
Yeah, we get to play the Penguin song now. We do. It's true.
So that was our response.
This one is Jacob's School Play, starring Kishi and May, which is an introduction to pronouns for kids.
Adults tend to need it.
An introduction to pronouns for kids. Oh.
And this one is Jacob's Missing Book, which is our response to book banning. And oddly enough, this one is not banned yet.
So, all right, yes. Oh, actually, Lucas said it well. So you wrote a book about book banning, but it hasn't been banned yet.
Right. And the look on Lucas's face said it all.
Exactly. Like, what is this world?
What is this world?
Exactly. So we write our books so that kids who are different can feel seen, and so that kids who aren't different, or so that all kids can learn to be kind. This is the bottom line. But the real reason our books get banned, because they are LGBTQ inclusive. Because those banned in this country.
That's why. It's all because conservatives hate the gays. That's why. That's it.
No, it's indicative of the regime.
Yes.
And the decisions that are being made by the people in power right now. And it is targeted. It's very definitely targeted. And they use the excuse of grooming. I'm sure they would assume that your books are grooming children.
Yup.
As you mentioned, your own son had no influence. I mean, I grew up the same way that probably many people in this room grew up, with every song I listened to on the radio, movie that I've ever watched, every book I ever read, everything on TV was all conditioning me, not to mention the social norms and pressures when people asking, do you have a girlfriend? You know, who's what girl do you have your eye on in class? Everything was heteronormative. I was groomed to be a straight man and marry a woman and have a child. That was just what you did.
Look, grooming is harder than it looks.
You know, and it doesn't work at all. Clearly, I mean, you know, it's just a ridiculous concept.
Thank
All
you.
it is recognizing that these children exist and that these people exist. They have trans people have always existed. Queer people have always existed. And it's nothing.
I just got loud.
I think people are freaking out because as we have developed and evolved as human beings, we've discovered new ways to express who we are, to help people understand, and we have words now to describe who we are and to let people know that we can use. And people are threatened by it. They're threatened and they're afraid of it.
Yeah, and to your point, we put our son in like jeans and blue t-shirts with dinosaurs on them and gave him tractors to play with. Like we tried to groom him that way, and it didn't also.
Well, because you probably thought, well, he's a boy. This is what he's gonna want.
Like,
yeah.
It didn't occur to me, but he made different choices. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, the funny thing about our son is, despite the great love of all things pink and Disney princesses and dresses, is that he had this whole other set of interests too, like Lego and dinosaurs, and especially medieval weapons. So, Sarah actually took him to a Renaissance fair when he was that?
He was 5.
He was 5, and he wore a sundress, right? And he had hair, and Sarah told him he was allowed a souvenir for the day.
Oh yes, he ran right up to the booth selling the wooden weapons, and he said, "1 battle axe, please."
So he got a lot of love at the Renaissance fair because there was this spunky girl in her sundress with her giant battle axe.
Yeah, if they knew that he was a boy in a dress, they might not have been so friendly toward it, because society loves spunky girls, right? But feminine boys, not so much.
But what's important is that you loved your son enough to let him wear that dress and get that battle axe. And you supported, you love your children unconditionally, which was a gift that I received from my mother and my family. I feel that I was very grateful for that. And I don't understand why some parents just can't love their kid.
Right, well, a lot of times their churches are telling them that they can't love their kid, and that's why this place makes such a difference in the world, right? So, studies show that any amount of support for LGBTQ kids makes a huge difference in their health and mental health outcomes. So even if they're not supported at home, if a teacher or a pastor or a school nurse supports them, it makes a huge difference. Even if they live in a state that's very challenged and they don't get support in the community, if they get it at home, it makes a difference. So we had a teacher in kindergarten, our son's teacher was very much like Sandra, but she didn't have any training in like how to deal with a kid who didn't conform to gender norms. She just was intuitive. So things came up in the classroom. The kids are saying, you can't like pink. Pink is a girl color. She'd say, are there girl colors and boy colors, or are there just colors? And one day the kids were arguing over hair. They told Sam he couldn't be a boy because he had long hair. And she responded by pulling out a photo of a little kid with short hair. And she said,
by the way, she had this fabulous mane of long
yes, she had like glorious long hair and a pierced tongue. And so she pulls out this photo of a kid with short hair and she says, do you think this is a boy or a girl? And all the kids, probably including our kids, said, that's a boy. And she said, well, that was me when I was your age.
Oh. Sometimes girls have short hair, guys. It's true.
And so these really simple lessons, they worked. And all the kids in Sam's class were like, oh, okay, that's a boy in a dress, whatever.
There's another kindergarten classroom exactly next door to Sam's, and that teacher was not doing the same lessons for her kids. So out on the playground, Sam would get questioned and harassed by the kids from that classroom, the same way the kids in his classroom used to harass him. So it was just a matter of the simple training that this teacher was doing. And from that, we learned this really important lesson, which is that building a culture of kindness is work, but it's not hard work. It's just everyday work.
I have a question, and this is not an approved question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But how are the books selling, and are they selling better because they're banned?
It's a good question. You know, we used to think that it was good for sales, right? So the first time we were banned was in 2017. Our first book, Jacob's New Dress, was banned in a school district in North Carolina. One school district, 3 schools, not a big ban, but it was super exciting, right? Because the New York Times called us and they're like, did you know you were banned? Now, the New York Times isn't going to call us. They can't keep up with the bans, right? But at the time, it was big enough news. So we're like, oh my God, the New York Times is calling us. We're getting all this love from people in North Carolina who are horrified about their state, and they reached out to apologize to us. Like it was a fun experience. And we're like, yeah, it was sweet. It was more good than bad. And we thought, well, maybe there will be a boost in sales. And maybe for a minute it was true. But what's been going on recently is so different, so comprehensive. I think that it has to be affecting sales for the worse.
Yeah, let me just give you some facts so you can get a sense of the scale of this. For the 2 decades before 2020, about 400 books were banned in the United States in a school year. In 2021, that jumped up to 2,500 books being banned. In 2022, it was 3,400 books being banned. And in 2023, over 10,000 books were banned in the United States in a school year. 10,400. So yeah, at this point, you know, if the state of Texas and the state of Florida don't want to buy your book and you're a publisher, that's a huge market that you've got to really consider.
Wow. That can't all be LGBTQ books. If there are also books about race, but what are they afraid of? Why do they want people to be so uninformed and so uneducated? I mean, reading is
The left is allowed to engage in capitalism if they are actively trying to work to overthrow the system. This is one of the worst conservative owns of all time. Why are they engaging in capitalism if they hate capitalism? They're allowed to. It says it in the Communist Manifesto. As long as they are working to overthrow the system, they're allowed to engage in capitalism. Thank you, Donnie Girl. I appreciate you and your ongoing support. Thank you.
It was my life growing up. Like I read literally every single one of the Laura Ingalls Wilder series, and I read every one of the Hardy Boys series. Like I devoured books growing up. I loved reading.
Little House on the Prairie. That book's
Yeah.
Whoa!
That was a warning. No, but I mean, you know, like what are they so? Why are they so afraid of it? Why are they so afraid of knowledge and different ideas? Do you think? Probably, I'm sure.
Well, some might say it comes from Judaism. So yeah. Yes, it's infected everything. It's not just Christian churches by a long shot.
It has an opinion here on that.
It's about political power, basically. So the majority of
True.
censorship attempts come from organized political movements, either people like Ron DeSantis at the state level, or Moms for Liberty, who has a small group that's funded by very wealthy, very conservative extremists. And most book bans are not from parents. They're like 15% of book bans are suggested by parents. And these groups have a broader agenda of defunding libraries and public education. It's about scaring voters so they can gain power.
Oh, don't worry. They'll never be successful.
That together create a climate of hostility. And that climate leads sometimes to lone actors doing things like calling in a bomb threat to a library. Because that's no effort. Right?
Wow.
But it creates chaos for the rest of us, right?
Yeah, we went to do a children's book event, kind of like this one, so with the Art Project, at the main branch of the Brooklyn Public Library a while back. And when we got there...
Wait, there were no drag queens there. Whoa. It was a much inferior event.
I'll get to that part of the story.
We did drag queens, yeah.
When we got there was an armed security guard assigned to us, which was an odd thing for us as children's book authors. It doesn't happen a lot. And we were curious about what was going on, and the librarians explained that the week before they did have a drag queen story hour featuring Jacob's New Dress at one of the branch libraries, and someone had called in a bomb threat. At which point the librarians had to cancel the event and evacuate the library.
Calling in bomb threats is not a good look, conservatives, at all. It only helps the left when you do this shit.
So the librarians at the main branch were worried about our safety and their safety as we showed up to do our bit.
So all of this, organized hostility, right, from Moms for Liberty and other groups, it leads not just to outright bans, but to soft censorship. So if the library had been afraid to have us come at all, that would have been self-censorship. Self-censorship, doesn't it sound cute and cuddly? It's not cute or cuddly. So schools aren't going to invite an author to visit if they think someone's going to protest. We've had a number of author friends have their author visits canceled when one parent in the community protests.
No, I cannot turn up their audio. The audio is basically as loud as it's going to go, so we're all just going to have to manage. Sorry.
And did that person have an organic complaint, or did Moms for Liberty or a similar group reach them? Teachers aren't going to share a book.
Oh, bro, did we not tell you not to do this shit anymore? This is stupid and tedious. How does any of this take root? Is it jealousy or more? No, bro, they have been doing this for decades. For decades. They've been indoctrinating kids like this for decades. I get no classes or gender, but it seems like all for no gender or class. Bro, you're not, okay. I need you to go back and I need you to formulate a better question because these questions don't make sense. And what you're doing right now is expressing frustration with your lack of understanding what's going on. And so I do want to answer your questions and I don't want to have to make fun of you all the time, but you need to formulate a better question and then come back.
If it means they might lose their job. We just saw on the way here, actually, on social media, that in Utah, there's this nebulous law about controversial topics, and no one knows what that means. And so teachers, to be safe, are pulling the books off their shelves so they don't violate some law that they don't even know when they're crossing lines. And we understand if a library doesn't want to hold an event because there might be a bomb threat, right? That's their safety. Librarians shouldn't be afraid to go to work, right? It shouldn't require courage for the Brooklyn Public Library to have a
drag queen. They do drag queen. They do drag king story hours. They absolutely do drag king story hours. Again, so it's not just drag queens. That's wrong. And the goal is still only and exclusively about abolishing gender. What you're trying to do right now is you're like, I don't want to listen to Karlyn because Karlyn is telling me that this is not about sexualizing kids, and I'm going to do a gotcha moment on her, and I'm going to make sure that she knows that I think this is all about sexualizing kids. That's what you're doing right now. Do you think I haven't been down this road before? So the premise of your question is wrong. They absolutely do drag kings. And the underlying reason you're asking the question is also wrong because their goal is to abolish gender. No. We don't use Trantifa on this channel. Trantifa is a term that Andy No made up. It is not real. It is a branding exercise for Andy No. The proper term is queer Marxist. This is actually a real thing that the left acknowledges and understands. Trantifa is just a branding exercise to push Andy No's book, essentially. All right, I didn't mean to make fun of you then, but
pair of authors come.
Yeah, but they're doing it because the drag queens are dangerous and they're going to scare the kids. So let's call it a bomb threat and really terrorize everybody.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. What you're talking about is pre-complying.
Exactly.
Which is something that I'm proud to say a lot of our community, a lot of people here in San Francisco are not doing. We are refusing to pre-comply, but there are a lot of there's a lot of corporate sponsors who pull out of pride.
Yes.
We're struggling to find sponsorship for these events in advance of being told to do so.
Right. We have so much sympathy for these teachers and librarians. I mean, in the state of Florida, if you've got the wrong book in your classroom, it's a felony. That's up to 5 years in prison and up to $5,000 fine. And the rules around what you can discuss and what you can't discuss in a Florida classroom are very murky. So if I were a teacher, I would not lose my job. And in Arkansas, I think it's 7 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. I mean, what teacher is going to stand up to that kind of pressure?
That is insane. So I want to hear about your visit to the Supreme Court. Tell us about that.
Thank you for asking. It's probably among the weirdest things that has ever happened to us. So our second book.
I'm looking at it, not the weirdest thing.
Yeah, definitely not the weirdest thing that's ever happened. So our second book, which is Jacob's Room to Choose, which maybe Ian will hold up, is part of a lawsuit that was filed in Montgomery County, Maryland, by some parents who are upset about their children seeing books like ours in their classroom, books that teach kindness and acceptance.
So Montgomery County is the biggest school district in Maryland. It's very diverse, very large. And about 3 years ago, they were looking at their books that were available to teachers to sort of read spontaneously. And they were like, hey, these books don't really represent all of the people who live in Montgomery County. So they went through this very thoughtful process with educators and librarians and parents involved in it to add 9 new books that had LGBTQ content.
It was a great process, actually, and some other school districts have done the same. We were in Danville yesterday, and they mentioned they had gone through this process. So they're actually adding books that reflect the diversity of their community. But just to be clear, that this case, Mahmoud v. Taylor, is a book ban by another name. So the conservatives have figured out that book bans are massively unpopular with the majority of Americans.
Ah, yes.
And I mean, I've been saying Hitler made book burning unpopular, so they were doing book banning for a while, and now they're like, oh, nobody likes that, so we'll call it religious freedom. We'll call it parents' rights.
Oh,
so this is the new disguise
so
that book banning is wearing, but
did you guys catch that? She was saying they're going to call this parents' rights. The left does want to abolish parental rights. They consider it to be a form of private property under capitalism. Conservatives don't know that, so they do boneheaded things like this.
Oh, nobody likes that, so we'll call it religious freedom. We'll call it parents' rights.
Parents' rights.
So this is the new disguise that book banning is wearing, but it's the same thing. And we know that this particular court is very receptive to certain people's religious freedom and certain conservative parents' rights.
So this was heard on April 22nd, and we're waiting for the decision like this week or next week. But what the plaintiffs in Mahmoud argued was that not allowing families to opt their kids out of seeing books like ours infringes on their religious freedom. They claim that irreparable harm will come to their children from seeing the diversity of people and families represented in these picture books. And let's remember that the people and families represented in these picture books are the kids sitting in the classroom next to their kids.
The actual children in the district. And so if the court allows an opt-out based on not exposing...
No. I don't think you understand what we're talking about. They do not want parents to be involved in the decision-making over their children. They don't want, well, let me make this more blunt. They don't want parents to exist. They don't want biological parents to exist. They don't want the nuclear family to exist. They want the children to be raised by the community. This is not just about parents don't have enumerated rights. They are trying to abolish the entire concept of an exclusive family based on biology. I've explained this in numerous videos and podcasts. You can go back and look at that content. I don't mean to deflect. I just don't want to explain it again now.
Children to certain content, the only way for schools to actually comply with a rule like that would be to ban spontaneous conversations about these things. So a lot of you probably know about Florida's Don't Say Gay rule. So this would make Mahmoud like a Don't Say Gay ban on steroids for the entire country. And if you think about the types of topics that people have objected to for religious reasons, They range from they're not just LGBTQ stuff. I mean, it's
Still not listening, WV. Still not listening.
We're talking women who work outside the home, as one of the progressive Supreme Court justices mentioned in the hearing, right? That like people object to some things that the rest of us think are okay, and it's basically going to, I mean, the fear is that it's going to affect public education so profoundly that it will no longer function, which, if you read Project 2025, that's the goal.
I never said they said Russia was their ideal society. Again, I think you have a listening problem. We're going to beat that out of you. Most people, when they first find my content, don't know how to listen. I have never, ever, 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 ever said that Russia is their ideal society. I have said that they model the Russian Revolution, not that Russia was their ideal society. The distinction is important.
That is the goal, yeah. It got weirder though. So Sarah and I were thinking, oh, once in a lifetime opportunity being banned by the Supreme Court, we have to go see this, right? So we tried to go into the court to get, we didn't win the ticket lottery, so we ended up helping organize the rally outside the court, which we went to. And our side was all, like you'd expect, you know, happy rainbow colored people singing and dancing and giving lectures. And the other side was interesting because they were all in navy blue. White shirts were up, but everything else was navy blue. And they stood there very somberly listening to speakers where they had the justices speaking inside the court.
Which we tried to block out. We literally had a wall of rainbow umbrellas. We called it the rainbow wall, and it protected us from them.
These people are obsessed with Project 2025. Has Project 2025 been mentioned in this entire presentation, yes or no? I will wait for your answer. Has Project 2025 been mentioned one single time? No. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. And so now I'm putting you in a timeout because obviously you're not listening. So enjoy your time out, and you can listen a little bit harder when you aren't able to talk. Like, conservatives literally hear shit that doesn't happen. Do you guys understand this? Conservatives literally, because these talking points are so ingrained in their heads, they literally hear things that haven't happened.
But sometimes you could hear what was happening coming over, and I was like, thank God we did not get tickets. Because if I had to sit there and listen to 2.5 hours of Supreme Court justices lying about the content of picture books, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah, it was incredibly disheartening to hear Supreme Court justices say they read the book and then misconstrue the contents of it, two in particular. And at the same time, you know, you could listen to it on your phone because they broadcast it live. And then I'd look around and we'd be in this joyous crowd of people, and I couldn't help but feel uplifted by our side.
And look, we should clarify. We believe that people have the fundamental right to practice and express their faith.
Of course.
But not when it harms other people.
Well, people don't understand that your religion controls the way you behave, not the way I behave.
Thank you.
You know that you subscribe to that religion, you believe in that.
Wait, breaking news. This is just too funny, so I have to break in and tell you guys this. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz says all enriched uranium in Iran has not been destroyed, and the U.S. has now asked Iran to just give us the uranium. So the United States bombs the shit out of Iran's nuclear facilities, goes on TV, says, we got them, guys. We destroyed their nuclear facilities. That didn't happen. And then Israel, another time after the U.S. bombed Iran's facilities, also dropped bombs on Iran's nuclear facilities. And they told us, they were like, this is the greatest bombing in the history of the world. We have achieved world peace through this bombing. And guess what? It turns out they didn't actually solve the problem at all. And now they're like, hey, Iran, can you just give us the enriched uranium that we should have taken care of the first time, but we didn't actually get because we're too fucking incompetent to do our job? Yeah, I'm sure Iran is going to get right on that, and they're going to wrap up the enriched uranium with a nice little fucking green bow on it. Bro.
By all means, and if it gives you hope and joy, this is just perpetual indulgence. They're accused of mocking nuns and Christianity and religion and God all the time. You know, we don't sit around and we don't think about Catholics or anything else at all in our meetings. We think about how to serve the community, but you know, we would never tell anyone. If you find something that gives you hope and joy, that makes you, that you believe in, that is reaffirming for you, please, by all means, worship. Build a beautiful church and meet every Sunday and talk about it and rejoice and sing. I encourage that. You know, we would never tell anybody that you can't do that, but the people just they choose to interpret the scripture in ways to serve their own, you know, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny. It's really disparaging. It's so sad sometimes. I don't get that feeling here though. I feel like if I could go to church, I might come here. Right? I love it. I love the feeling of community and the sense of hope. There's so much power in spirit, and you know, when people put their collective power together and send it out into the universe, and that's what you were doing on your side with the rainbow umbrellas, and that's what our community is always doing. Everywhere we go, we're collecting our joy and our energy and our power. We're like spreading it to the world, and I have faith in that. I refuse to believe that evil is going to win. And I want to thank you for writing these important books and taking that all the way to the Supreme Court. I can't wait to hear the decision. I'm sure that you will share it with us. We will. Do we have time to do some Q&A from the audience? I'm sure there are questions. Can we do that? Anybody have any questions? I know y'all have some questions. Here we go.
I just wanted to give some detail about the misrepresentation you're talking about. But could you be a little more specific about things that the Supreme Court justices said were not?
Yes.
Unfortunately, justices.
Unfortunately, we can't.
Yeah. So, Justice Alito and Justice Gorsuch seemed particularly interested in making things up about children's picture books, leading some of the authors to ask, did they understand them? These are books written for 4 and 5-year-olds. So Justice Alito was particularly enchanted with Uncle Bobby's Wedding, which is a book by Sarah Brandon. It's a very sweet book about a little girl named Chloe who has an uncle who she loves. And he tells Chloe that he's getting married. And Chloe's upset because if her uncle gets married, she might not have as much time with him. And it's a very sweet story. It goes on. It turns out 2 uncles are better than 1. Chloe's happy, all good. Justice Alito felt that the message of the book was that Chloe was upset that her uncles were getting gay married and didn't.
What is the primary goal of queer Marxism? Go. This is a question just for you. I have no idea how to say your name. What is the primary goal of queer Marxism? Go. You say nothing else in my chat until you answer this question, and you either answer the question or you say I don't know. What is the primary goal of queer Marxism? Go. I've explained this like 4 times on this stream, 4 or 5 times. What is the primary goal of queer? No. Wrong. Completely wrong. Not what I've explained 4 or 5 times on this stream at all. Do you want to take another guess? What is the primary goal of queer Marxism? Go. You know everything and we know nothing. You want to come in here and bloviate in my chat and get all fucking whining and complaining when I told you that you're not listening. See, this is where this all started, isn't it? I said you are not listening, and then you continued to whine and complain because you got your fifis hurt, when in fact, now we are proving to you that you weren't fucking listening the 4 fucking times I've explained this on this stream. So now you can try again, or you can admit you don't know. Which would you like? What is the primary goal of queer Marxism? You know everything? You're gonna own me? What is the primary goal of queer Marxism? We're waiting for your answer, bro. We're waiting just for you. Oh, no. I am not explaining this again. You want to know why? I've explained it 4 fucking times on this stream already, and you weren't listening. So now what I need you to say in my chat is, I don't know. Say I don't know or offer an answer. Only for you. And then my chat will explain it to you, the people who have been listening and not whining and complaining and worrying about their own fucking feelings. Say, I don't know, Karlyn. Please educate me. Thank you. Would the chat like to explain what the primary goal of queer Marxism is? Go ahead.
I do believe in gay marriage. And who was it who had to correct it?
Sonia said
Sonia Sotomayor clarify what the story was actually about, and his response was that, we can agree to disagree in book club. It's not really ambiguous. And then the other one, so Justice Gorsuch, that man has a dirty mind. So he was obsessed with this book called Pride Puppy, which is by, is it Robin Stevenson? It's a sweet book. It's an alphabet book for like 4-year-olds. It's really geared toward younger kids because it's an alphabet book. So like A is for apple, for example. And when I say lie, this is the way I'm using the term. He picked up Pride Puppy and said, so this book is about what? Bondage? Sex workers? And Amy Coney Barrett had to say, this is a book
Yes.
about
Yes. Okay. We gave White Man from Town so much shit during this presentation. Everyone give him a round of applause. Round of applause. Correct. Thank you for listening. Correct.
lost at a pride parade. So when Amy Coney Barrett is coming to your rescue, so did they technically lie? These men were under oath on this day. They probably technically did not lie, but they were doing like a Fox News style throw out some words that make you think some things. And the whole right-wing press has gone to town with these 2 books in particular. If you Google Pride Puppy and say leather, you'll find
true.
all the stuff that they say is in the book. And what they did was, so for example, Z is for zipper in the book. And so the right-wing media has said, like, this is somehow for bondage. It's a kid who's got a sweatshirt with it. I got a zipper. Is this porn?
It's so kinky marriage.
Sorry to be so saucy. And there is leather in the book, which I think is where Gorsuch got to bondage, but there's mom wearing a leather jacket, so that's dirty in his mind. So he has a dirty, dirty mind. But what that served to do, these are the people who are upholding the laws of our country at the highest possible level, right? And they're here spreading misinformation and lies and right-wing talking points and demeaning children's books. And it was profoundly disheartening. So that's what we mean by lies. That was a good question. Thank you.
So, I had the pleasure of teaching your child.
It's
And
the preschool teacher.
he said some amazing things. Now, I always felt that the 2 of you were very different parents than a lot of parents that I saw. Not that other parents didn't love their children or didn't care for their children or show them how to live healthy and fulfilling lives, but there was something different about the 2 of you. And I recognized my own upbringing in that. And I just wanted to ask you, what within your own upbringing or the coming together of the 2 of you allowed you to see see clearly who your son is and what's needed from you.
Thank you for seeing that in us and for asking that question. And I am going to let Ian take that, but I just want to say first, though, you are very kind, but we are not alone. So we were at a Pride celebration yesterday in Danville, and there were a bunch of people from PFLAG there, the leader of PFLAG, and a lot of people who run their organization. The mayor was there, the head of the school board, and all these parents. And they all are parents like this. They are all seeing. Where's Heather? Heather was saying to me, like, the beauty is in seeing your child, right? I didn't think to put it that way, but that's great, right? These are all people who see their children and support and love their children. So we are far from alone. We know many parents who support and love their children. And it gets more common. But I think you saw stuff in your upbringing.
I have three brothers. We have a 10-year age range between us, and we're all very different. And at some point, I got old enough it occurred to me to wonder how my parents were raising us, that we ended up so different. And I asked my mom about it, and she said that she had taught school at the beginning of.
Wait. The first stream you ever participated in was the Hormaxer stream? Somehow, that's actually the most appropriate entryway for you into the community.
Career in Portland, you can't all you can hope is to teach them.
Yo.
And so she said she would, that's what she would do with us. She'd throw out a whole bunch of stuff in front of us and see what we liked.
Hey, thank you.
She'd encourage that, and she wouldn't worry about the other stuff.
True.
So with Sam, I think a lot of parents would step up when they are confronted with a child who doesn't make sense, but insists on not making sense to the world. And you try and make sense of that. I don't think we saw him that clearly. I think we just supported him. That's all.
I wonder what Hormaxer is doing these days.
And powerful.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I have a question that's pretty deep, so I'm not expecting you to answer this in response, but of course, book bannings have been used in so many different ways, and sometimes they are used to ban books that are offensive, that do have terrible stories, or do, that have bad messages that are about certain people. When you're speaking about these books and you're explaining that that's not the case.
I'm working on a book called Re-Education that will break down a lot of the concepts that I have to explain over and over and over again. And I probably should get a move on it, and I probably should have published it a long time ago, but I just didn't, because I was doing other things. But I am actually working on a book, specifically for this.
How do you differentiate your stories from those
Very good question. The question is, how do you defend and differentiate their books from actual books that are deservedly banned for the harm that they cause?
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. So you mentioned the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, which we also loved in our household, and one of those has been edited by the Laura Ingalls Wilder Foundation, and it's the one where Laura and her mom meet the Indians, and she said some pretty offensive things about Native American people. And I was actually disappointed when they edited that book, because I thought what they should have done is write a foreword talking about how this book uses offensive language, and here's why. And here's why we didn't change it, because we want you to see that this is how people thought, but look, this is how we think now. And to me, I think that teaches something versus just kind of whitewashing the past, because it, failing to admit that we were racist doesn't help us not be racist, is my sense. We've had some weird we get a lot of trolls on the internet. There was one who was arguing with me about book banning and said something about, do you think they should ban Mein Kampf? And I'm like, well, Germany banned it, I think for good reason. That's maybe one case where they should, yes, ban a book. But here, I don't think we should ban it. I think we should be teaching kids, once they're the appropriate age, this is what they And this is what he did.
Based. We shouldn't be banning Mein Kampf. In fact, not only should we not ban Mein Kampf, we should teach kids Mein Kampf. Can you please just explain that again?
We've had some weird challenges. I mean, we get a lot of trolls on the internet. There was one who was like arguing with me about book banning and said something about, well, do you think they should ban Mein Kampf? I'm like, well, Germany banned it, I think for good reason. Like, that's maybe one case where they should, yes, ban a book. But here, I don't think we should ban it. I think we should be teaching kids once they're at the appropriate age.
True.
This is what
Yep.
this man thought. And
True.
This is what he did.
Yes.
And
yes, we should be teaching it. Yes.
It's
Mm-hmm.
influenced our
Yeah.
political
100%.
situation. But I think we need to talk about these things. Otherwise, we just keep repeating our problems. As far as, we don't usually say defend against these claims, right? I don't say, no, this book isn't porn, because I don't think that's a great, defense.
So we talk about what our books are about instead.
Yeah.
And that's because otherwise we're in a losing argument to begin with, defending against something that's not true.
Yeah, so our books most simply are about kindness and inclusion. And I think that that's why the right wing has all this other language, because coming out against kindness and inclusion, it's not a great look, right? So they have to lie. They have to say, this book is indoctrination, this book is porn, these people are child abusers. So we try not to use their language. We try not to, I never want to be in a situation where I'm like, I'm not a child abuser. I mean, it's not a good position to be in. But to just say over and over, we come from a place of kindness. We believe all children deserve to see themselves reflected in books. We believe that books can and do help children learn to be kind to each other.
Any other questions? Yes.
Do you have any books in the works?
Good question. We do. A while back, we had decided that writing about children and gender wasn't controversial enough, so we would write about children and religion. And we're working on that one. And that got preempted by the book about book banning because that sort of became more urgent. But it's curious that ended up being a Supreme Court argument that it's about religion. So I feel like we're a little late up with the curve there.
Now it's going to look like we're responding to the court case.
Why not? Do you have another hand there?
I was going to ask the same question.
Oh, okay.
What are your favorite books?
I think Antango Mix 3 might be my favorite picture book. What's yours?
That's a really hard question. I have to say, The Cat in the Hat is so brilliant. And as part of, yes, it's so terrifying. And as part of learning how to write children's books, I ended up analyzing it page by page, image by image, word by word. I had this huge chart on my wall to figure out how he does that, how he makes this terrifying book that's full of unhappy images. And once I figured out the secret behind it, I was like, oh my God, this is genius. And so it's maybe not my favorite, but it's among them for sure. So
I have to go back and reread that. My favorite book is The Confederacy of Dunces. I love that book. I've read it 3 times. I've laughed out loud every time I read it. If you've ever had an opportunity, you should check it out. Any other questions? Yes.
Just listening to this ruling that might be coming down the pipes, which bans spontaneous discussion in public schools. My son is going to be starting kindergarten this fall, and I just wanted to ask if you guys have any further information about how parents can better inform themselves so that, he's going to be going into public school here in San Francisco. I don't know how a ruling like that would affect us, in this particular city, but I just want to ask if you have any resources that parents might be able to take a look at so that we can kind of prepare ourselves. I mean, besides a library, a personal library that's filled with stories like yours.
Thank you for that. So the question is, what can parents do to prepare themselves the effects of this decision. So fortunately in San Francisco, we're not likely to feel a whole host of effects, although there is the fact of if these books are banned, like our books are banned in more than half the states, so if enough of these books are banned in enough states, there's not going to be available for anyone to purchase because they will fall out of production. But I think we are, thank God, at this point, relatively safe here. So on our website is a page called Fight Book Bans. And
Okay, this is basically over, and we need to get to something else because in about 7 minutes, something like that, we are going to be spy streaming, guys. We are going inside a live leftist organizing session tonight. We got through the Drag Queen Story Hour presentation basically to the end, and now we are switching over to spy stream. So I'm going to end this stream, and I just put the link in the chat to come to the spy stream. There is a sitting senator joining the leftist organizing call tonight, so it's going to be a great one for people to join. Thank you to everyone who sent in super chats, and because of your super chats, you get to listen to the Penguin song on the way out. If you've never heard the Penguin song, this is a song that is actually shown to kids in school to teach them how to be non-binary. And it's really great, and you're really going to love it. And so enjoy the Penguin song on the way out. Oh, shit. Hang on. Sound's not set up. Hang on. Got to set up the sound. Got to really make this good. Set up the sound properly. If you've never heard the Penguin song, now is the time.
No matter how you're born, we each have the style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Ariana and Renee, they both are born girls. They go into their changing rooms. Ariana loves twirls. That's not for Renee. Pink will not do. All girls don't wear dresses, they wear pants too. Has Renee lost her mind? What's running through her head? Ariana can fix this, no is what she said.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've got to move. That's how you know you've got it right. This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality. No matter how you're born, we each have the style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Bryce and Jason, they both are born boys. They go into their changing rooms. Bryce jumps out with joy. Jason has a different idea. The sweater is where it's at. Bryce has to fix this. Here, try this or that. Wait just 1 second. Don't tell him how to dress. Ariana knows this. Only Jason can express.
This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality. No matter how you're born, we each have the style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Darla and Charles, one girl and one boy. They go into their changing rooms. Charles is feeling coy. Others are thrilled with the look, but Charles is quite unhappy. Let's try this again. Yeah, this is snappy. Some are confused. They just don't understand. Charles, now Charlotte is certain. Ariana's her biggest fan. Some might keep their distance, but others will come around. Come on over, Darla. Show us what you found. Darla had something on, but is not quite convinced. She wants to try again, yet she still gives a wince. Nope, not right either. Why can't she decide? Sometimes it takes time, only she can find her stride. Darla presents an outfit. The new name is Darren. Now everything feels right. The person within he's sharing.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've got to move. That's how you know you've got it right. This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Originality.
Here we have Skylar, born a boy or girl. Not interested in the girl look. Won't give the boy look a whirl. Skylar wants a new path, and it isn't one of those. This is a unique look from Skylar's head to toe.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've got to move. That's how you know you've got it right. This is me, who I am. See me in full colors, me like no other. Original is me, who I am. See me personality.